Hey guys, this is Nazo the Weeb, and I have been homeless for 3.5 years. And that's why I haven't been very active on YouTube over the past few years. I haven't been able to work on or upload or edit anything in that time because of this incident I've been through. And such a thing sucks because YouTube and video editing alongside anime has always been my passion. And with all this happening, it kind of put me through a withdrawal because I haven't been able to be creative or do anything to express myself the way I have with this channel. So with this video, I thought I'd rather explain how everything happened, or rather give a story on how these last nearly 4 years have been regarding my absence from my channel and YouTube as a whole. So this dates back to about 2020, during the COVID lockdowns. My family and we've been living with a family friend of ours. We actually looked up to her as our godmother, and to which we've been living with her since about 2009. And over those years, things have been pretty fine, for the most part. Of course, every family has ups and downs as they go about life. But as time went on, this lady eventually started to become more money focused in the sense of greed rather than anything else. And as me and my siblings began to work and head out and adult, she pretty much tried to get money out of us through any means necessary. And of course, we didn't mind when she made requests for us to help out with groceries and bills and such, because we lived in the same house and we thought it would be only right to help out with such things. But eventually, it went from asking for help with small stuff to pretty much asking for our entire paychecks almost every time we got it. And that's where the problem started. Mind you, this is about 2019, about 10 years we've been living with her, and me and my older brother, we just got our first jobs, so we were trying to balance our finances and be financially stable and responsible each time we got paid. And she pretty much dismissed that. Every time we got paid, she would pretty much try to get everything we got, and we weren't able to do so because we still had our own bills and other things to handle on the side. Then came 2020, and of course, as COVID-19 started to spread across the nation and the world, my brother's job and I had to shut down, and we weren't able to work or get paid. And over time, this lady in question started to get increasingly frustrated by the fact that we weren't able to give her money, nor will be willing to give her whatever we had left to handle our own bills and emergencies. Then from that point onward, she would begin to create and inflate issues. Pretty much cause an issue out of nowhere, then inflate it to make it seem way worse than it actually was. Over time, she kept calling her own family members and friends to make it seem like we were being a nuisance in the house, when all of those people already knew us and saw that there was no real problem every time they came by to see what was going on. Even though they saw that there was no problem and they started to grow frustrated with her constantly calling and inflating things, she herself kept insisting that there was indeed a problem, which led to everybody pretty much turning away from her. Eventually, later on in that year, out of our own annoyance and frustration, me, my brother, and our mom tried to look into getting ourselves a place to stay, whether it was a house for rent or an apartment. However, due to it being a quarantine during a pandemic, most people were extremely wary of each other and nowhere was taking new applicants, so we had to stay with her for the time being. Then came 2021. Over time, the lady started making rumors regarding me, my siblings, and my mom, pretty much our entire family. The rumors and everything she spoke about and tried to spread around held no merit with anyone, so she tried to take a different approach. Eventually, she had put herself in the hospital for an apparent mental breakdown, and stating my family as the cause for it. With her putting herself in the hospital like that, she actually got her family to respond to such a matter, and as of which she started to demand that me and my family leave her house within 24 hours. This was in mid-2021. And of course, as she did that, there were people who were skeptical of what she was saying and how she was acting. But she continued to inflate the issue, and me and my family were completely caught off guard. So we began scrambling to find a way to put our things together, which was about 10 years worth of family items, and find a way to move out of our house. As of which we managed to do so within that day, and that's where our struggle began to find a place of our own. So going through this was stressful and eventually became saddening as the lady's niece came to us and actually revealed that she was planning that the whole time and tried to talk her out of it because of how nonsensical it was. Especially seeing as she knew me and all of my siblings since the day we were born. But as soon as her niece looked away and went away for a few days, that's when she put her plan into motion and did it all behind her back, sending us out into the street out of nowhere. So starting off, my family and I, we weren't quite sure how to handle an issue like this, seeing as now we were out of our home, or at least what we thought was our home. We were naive but very opportunistic that we could find something right away and hopefully find a home to make our own for once. But over time, as we continued looking and trying to fill out paperwork and applications for rent, we started to get hit with the harsh and very harsh reality of how people were in our hometown. A lot of people were asking for unrealistic amounts of rent and were trying to attach a bunch of other fees and asking for way too much personal information to get started. And this issue lasted for quite a while. Eventually we did manage to stay ourselves in a Airbnb for a few weeks to at least try to recuperate and figure out what we're going to do and what our next plan would be. Mind you, this was not something simple to handle. It wasn't just me, my older brother, and my mom, but it was also several of my younger siblings with us. So it was a huge family we were trying to move around and find a place for, and it was pretty pricey and time consuming to find something. Going through everything and getting caught in the rain a few times and all that, some of my younger siblings got sick. Alongside that, my older brother and my mom caught COVID and they had to go into quarantine. And then me, I had got a skin infection on my face. So right off the bat, we were getting pretty much messed up really bad. And this was still about a month or two after we got kicked out. So this is still 2021. Later on in the year, eventually we managed to find a cheap hotel that we thought we could stay in for the moment in a more accessible part of town. So that way we could be able to take the bus and get around town, go to the doctor's office, dentist, and so on. So once we booked a room and stayed there a few days, my eyes were quickly opened wide as I started to see that we were not the only family in that hotel that were struggling. The floor of the hotel we were on was literally a neighborhood of its own, with several families on there facing their own issues and misfortunes that came with being kicked out of their homes, losing their houses in fires and other disasters, among other things. It showed me that it was one thing to see it and another to experience it. Despite all of us being strangers, the other people there were very kind to us and were open towards helping us out and giving us anything we needed, which was very nice of them, considering they were also going through similar issues and struggles. And for the rest of 2021, we stayed there without a problem. For 2022, things were largely uneventful. I did manage to get myself a car to get around town and move around easier, as of which, do not finance. I learned that mistake the hard way, and it sucks. Aside from that, I also got into donating plasma to bring in extra money to help pay for bills and living costs. And aside from that, I don't remember all too much happening in 2022, besides someone in the floor above us started a fire and we had to evacuate the building for the time being. That was a little stressful and annoying. Other than that, not all too much happened in 2022, at least not that I remember. As 2022 came to a close and 2023 started, the weight of the situation started to take its toll on me, my brothers, sisters, and our mom. We were stressed out all the time, and all of us started to suffer from extreme anxiety, depression, among other things. And over time, it just got continuously worse. And just as we thought things couldn't get any worse, the water sprinkler in our room exploded, and it ended up shooting a lot of dirty water across all of our items and our clothes. And we had to stay up for nearly 2 to 3 days straight to clean up everything and get our clothes back to being clean. After which the managers of the hotel pretty much refused to help us with anything. So a lot of the stuff we had to handle and move and take care of, we had to do out of our own pocket, which only made things worse considering we were already struggling. Further adding fuel to the fire, I ended up being the only person in my family that was actively working, as my siblings started to get laid off of their jobs one by one. And with that happening, we started to struggle a lot with paying bills, including the hotel room we were staying in. We had way too many close calls with paying bills and managing to stay out of the street another night, as well as keeping food on the table, among other things. And even with all of these issues happening around us at the same time, my siblings and we continued to hold on and not let that get the best of us. And as the year went on, my brothers and sisters eventually started to get new jobs, and we started to stabilize again. And from mid to late 2023 onward, we managed to keep that stability going into 2024. Then came 2024. As the year started off, and we were repeatedly rejected from renting a home, and financing a house in our city was far out of question as it was too expensive, my family and I started to go through our options and see what we could do to get ourselves a home. As we continued to look through our options, the stability we had from 2023 up to that point was starting to go away very, very quickly, if not instantly, as the manager for the hotel we were in decided to try and get rid of all the other long-term stays alongside us by making the prices so high we couldn't afford it. And to make matters worse, with an increase to our bills, we eventually, very quickly, ran out of money. So even if we wanted to stay in that hotel a little longer, we had no choice but to leave, as we had no way to actually pay for it. And with that, whatever we had left with us, we had to put into a storage. Then we decided to have some of my siblings split up. If it was possible for them to stay with a friend, they decided to do so, and their friends actually took them in. In the meantime, it was still me, my mom, and a few of my brothers left. And with us having no other options and nowhere else to go, we actually ended up sleeping in my car for a bit. This was the beginning of June. My family and we were sleeping in my car, had to constantly move across town just to have something to do for the day while I stayed at work until evening. Alongside this, food was also a struggle that we had to face, as we had no fridge or anywhere to store our food. So we regularly had to buy a meal just to get started for the day, and another one for when we all group together and go back to sleep. Along with that, there was also a massive rainstorm that lasted several days. So because of that, my family and we had to stay cramped in my car for all those days as it rained, as we couldn't even open windows for ventilation or anything like that. All of these bills, struggles, and problems hit us at full force from the beginning of June until the very beginning of August. And as August began, everything took a massive 180. Out of nowhere, a landlord up north actually accepted our application for a rental of property. So with that news coming in, me and my family, we quickly went up north to go check out the property. And after meeting with the landlord and working out a deal with him, he also offered to give my mom and my siblings jobs. Further adding on to this, I also had a delayed tax return that actually came in, which gave us extra money to help with moving costs and traveling. So everything was coming together. After the papers and everything was signed, my family and we quickly gathered our things into a moving truck and went up north to settle in. Once we got to the town, we started to move all of our things into the house, and we were quickly greeted by very kind neighbors. So after 3 years of hardships and struggles as a family, our perseverance and patience came back to reward us tenfold, if that's even enough to say. And as I'm actively recording this, I'm actually still back in my hometown waiting for a job transfer. And once that goes through, I'll leave this town, and that will be the end of everything. Speaking of which, that is the end of this video. Now, if you made it this far, I really want to thank you so much for listening to my story, because this was a lot to unfold, a lot to go through, and of course a lot to put down, really. To my newest subscribers, I want to give you guys a thanks for subscribing to my channel despite my massive absence. And to my long-time followers and viewers, I want to give you guys a big thank you for keeping my channel alive. Honestly, I wouldn't be at this point and I wouldn't be making this video if it wasn't for you guys. So I want to give a huge thank you to all of you for keeping my channel alive throughout the years. I really hope you guys didn't think I abandoned my channel or anything. It's just that with this whole incident happening out of nowhere, I kind of had to stop what I was doing and cancel any projects I was working on. But I continued writing down scripts and other ideas. I'm hoping to try some new things with future videos, and I'm hoping to come back to posting regularly soon. Again, this is Nazo the Weeb, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here with me. It meant so much to me. I can't thank you guys enough.